The Israel-Palestine conflict is one of the most enduring and complex conflicts in modern history. Rooted in competing claims to the same small strip of land, it has been a source of violence and instability for over a century. The region, known historically as Palestine, holds deep religious significance for both Jews and Muslims. For Jews, it is the biblical land of Israel, the site of their ancient kingdom, and home to Jerusalem, their holiest city. For Muslims, it is Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, the third holiest site in Islam, that holds great religious significance. This essay will provide a concise timeline of the Israel-Palestine conflict, highlighting key events and turning points from the late 19th century to the present. It aims to present a balanced view, respecting both perspectives in the conflict, while ensuring accuracy and neutrality throughout. In the late 19th century, Palestine was part of the Ottoman Empire. The majority of the population was Arab, both Muslim and Christian, with a small Jewish minority. During this period, a nationalist movement known as Zionism emerged among European Jews. Zionism, as a political movement, advocated for the establishment of a Jewish state in Palestine. This movement gained momentum in response to growing anti-Semitism in Europe. Jewish immigration to Palestine, known as Aliyah, increased, leading to tensions with the local Arab population. Theodor Herzl, a Jewish journalist living in Vienna, is considered the father of modern political Zionism. Herzl's book, The Jewish State, published in 1896, argued for the establishment of a Jewish state as the only solution to the Jewish question. Following World War I, the Ottoman Empire collapsed, and Palestine came under British control as a Mandate territory. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 expressed the British government's support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This dual commitment to both the Jewish and Arab populations created a fundamental ambiguity that would plague British policy in Palestine. The British Mandate period witnessed growing tensions and violence between the Jewish and Arab communities. Jewish immigration to Palestine continued to rise, particularly after the rise of Nazi Germany and the Holocaust. The British, caught between their commitments to both sides, struggled to maintain order. In 1947, the British government referred the issue of Palestine to the newly formed United Nations. The UN voted to partition Palestine into two states, one Jewish and one Arab, with Jerusalem as an international zone. The Jewish leadership accepted the partition plan, while the Arab leadership rejected it. Following the UN vote, fighting erupted between Jewish and Arab militias in Palestine. On May 14, 1948, David Ben-Gurion declared the independence of the State of Israel, ending the British Mandate. The next day, armies from neighboring Arab states invaded the newly declared state, marking the beginning of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. By the war's end, Israel had expanded its territory beyond the UN partition plan. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled or were expelled from their homes during the fighting, becoming refugees in neighboring Arab countries. The 1948 war did not resolve the conflict, and tensions remained high between Israel and its Arab neighbors. In 1964, the Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO, was founded with the aim of liberating Palestine and establishing an independent Palestinian state. Under the leadership of Yasser Arafat, the PLO gained international recognition as the representative of the Palestinian people. In June 1967, fearing an imminent attack by its Arab neighbors, Israel launched a preemptive strike against Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. The Six-Day War resulted in a swift and decisive Israeli victory. Israel captured the Sinai Peninsula and Gaza Strip from Egypt, the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. Israel's victory transformed the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East, establishing it as a major military power in the region. The occupation of the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem became a major point of contention in the conflict. The 1967 war did not extinguish the flames of conflict. Egypt and Syria, determined to reclaim the territories lost in the previous war, launched a surprise attack against Israel on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. The Yom Kippur War of 1973, while initially catching Israel off guard, ended in another Israeli victory. Despite their military victory, the Yom Kippur War had a sobering effect on Israel. The initial Arab successes in the war exposed vulnerabilities in Israel's defense posture. In the aftermath of the war, there was a growing recognition that a military solution to the conflict was unlikely. In 1978, Egyptian President Anwar Sadat made a historic visit to Jerusalem, becoming the first Arab leader to officially recognize Israel. This breakthrough paved the way for the Camp David Accords, a framework for peace negotiated between Israel and Egypt, under the auspices of U.S. President Jimmy Carter. The accords led to the signing of a peace treaty between Israel and Egypt in 1979. The Camp David Accords marked a turning point in the Arab-Israeli conflict, demonstrating that peace between Israel and its Arab neighbors was possible. However, the Palestinian issue remained unresolved. In the late 1980s, the First Intifada, a Palestinian uprising against Israeli occupation in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, erupted. The Intifada brought the Palestinian issue back to the forefront of international attention. In 1993, secret negotiations between Israel and the PLO, held in Oslo, Norway, resulted in the signing of the Oslo Accords. These accords called for the establishment of a Palestinian interim self-government in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. The Oslo process faced numerous challenges and ultimately failed to deliver on its promise of a lasting peace. The Oslo peace process began to unravel in the late 1990s. In 2000, following the collapse of the Camp David II summit, the Second Intifada erupted. Unlike the First Intifada, the Second Intifada was marked by increased violence, including suicide bombings and targeted killings. Israel began construction of a security barrier, separating Israel from the West Bank. The barrier's route, which often deviates from the pre-1967 Green Line, cut off Palestinian communities from their farmland and livelihoods, exacerbating tensions. In 2005, Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon unilaterally withdrew all Israeli settlers and soldiers from the Gaza Strip. The Gaza disengagement was a controversial move opposed by many on the Israeli right. In 2006, Hamas won a majority of seats in the Palestinian legislative elections. The following year, Hamas seized control of the Gaza Strip in a violent takeover. Israel and Egypt imposed a blockade on Gaza, citing security concerns. Since the Hamas takeover, there have been 4 major rounds of fighting between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. These conflicts have resulted in thousands of casualties, the vast majority of them Palestinian civilians. The repeated cycles of violence have deepened the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The Israel-Palestine conflict remains unresolved, with no end in sight. The two-state solution appears increasingly distant. The continued expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank and the ongoing blockade of Gaza pose significant obstacles to peace. The Palestinian Authority, led by Mahmoud Abbas, exercises limited self-governance in parts of the West Bank. Hamas, which remains in control of Gaza, continues to reject Israel's right to exist. The international community remains deeply divided on the conflict. The Israel-Palestine conflict is a complex and intractable one, with a long and bloody history. The path to peace is fraught with challenges, but there are also opportunities for progress. A lasting solution will require difficult compromises from both sides, as well as sustained international engagement. One of the biggest challenges to peace is the lack of trust between Israelis and Palestinians. Building trust will require a long-term commitment to dialogue and confidence-building measures. The continued expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank is seen by Palestinians as a major obstacle to peace. The status of Jerusalem is perhaps the most sensitive and intractable issue in the conflict. Despite the challenges, there are also opportunities for progress. Civil society organizations on both sides of the conflict are working to build bridges and promote understanding. The international community has a crucial role to play in supporting a just and lasting peace.